Everyone ready? Thank you. I apologize. I was on time, but I was at the safety building. I got the location wrong, and I should have known that we needed a little more space for this news conference because this is going to be an unusual news conference. For those of you in the media and in the community, you might know that we do these news conferences every 3 months. Whether the news is good or bad, we got into the habit probably 3 years ago of having quarterly crime stats updates at the end of every quarter. We do it when the numbers go up, we do it when the numbers go down. We think it's an important part of the transparency and openness needed to have a healthy relationship between the citizens and the police department and city government. So we were going to do this news conference anyhow, right around this time of year. I know the second quarter, or in this case the first half of 2025 ended almost exactly a month ago, but it does always take a little bit of time to get statistics gathered, and there were a couple of vacations here and there, so this is the typical time that we would have this news. We would always have the mid-year update news conference at the end of July. This is normal, and newsflash, 3 months from now we'll have our third quarter news conference, and mid-January we'll have our year-end total. We do this routinely. However, we recognize that though a big part of the story we have to tell is a good story, it's an encouraging story. It might not feel, certainly the 4th of July weekend might not have felt that way, but generally speaking, when you look at the statistics over the last 4 years, our numbers have been and continue to be trending in the right direction. And that's not just on homicides, it's not just on violent crime, it's on every statistic of crime that we measure. And it has been that way now for almost 4 years, year after year after year. So in other words, we saw a spike in all statistics kind of toward the third quarter of 2021. Then in 2022, it was lower. In 2023, it was lower than it was in 2022. 2024 is lower than it was 23. And this year, even despite everything that has happened, it is lower than it was last year. So the overall story is still the same, of a community that is safer than it was last year, safer than it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. All that's true. As John Adams said, that you're entitled to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. Facts are the facts, that statistically speaking, the numbers have been trending and continue to trend in a positive direction. However, the reason that this news conference is so different than the one we do every 3 months is because we recognize that though the numbers continue to move in an encouraging direction, what happened over the 4th of July weekend was heartbreaking. It was out of the norm. It was out of character for Toledo. And so that, in our opinion, argued for a news conference, an update that was that's different, that is unusual, to meet the moment that we all went through as a community about 3.5 weeks ago. One of the things that made the 4th of July weekend so painful for Toledo was that it was so unusual. It was out of character for our city, intuitively and statistically. 1 month ago today, when we wrapped up the first half of the year 2025, I believe the city of Toledo, and of course we have I'm going out of order, so don't worry about that. I believe we had 12 homicides at the end, or does this show what it was at the end of?
This is mid-year versus year-end.
Okay, yeah, what is it? What was it? 25? No.
15.
Was it 15? Okay. All right. So 1 month ago today, at the end of the first half of this year, we had 15 homicides. And you can see how that has been trending down for 4 years. However, in the month of July alone, we saw 9 homicides. So we had almost the same, well, we had 2/3 the number of homicides in just 1 month that we had in the entire calendar year leading up to that. That's kind of a long-winded, maybe overly academic way of saying that one of the reasons that weekend was so painful was that it was so out of character from what the norm had been. We recognize that every loss of life is a tragedy. There, sometimes, and I know I'm guilty of it, is sort of a numbers geek of, the more you talk in numbers and statistics and graphs and trends, sometimes it makes impersonal what we're talking about, and I don't want to lose sight of the fact that on every one of these events, there's a human being that is affected. There's a family that loved him or her, and there's a human toil that can never be regained. We won't be satisfied until we have no homicides in this city, and even while intellectually we probably know that that's not likely in any city, that is our goal. And while to some extent we celebrate the reduction we've seen over the last 4 years, we're not satisfied no matter how low those numbers are. At any rate, what we saw on the 4th of July weekend was so totally out of character that it felt wrong. When you go the first 6 months of the calendar year and have 5 homicides and then have 6 in a 3-day span, it's traumatic for the community, and it requires a different conversation. And really that's, I think, what brings us all here today. So I think we already flipped the board because I was going out of order. But what we wanted to do is talk about where we were at the halfway point, what happened in July, and where we are with all of our statistics. So I know the board's already been flipped, but what hopefully you saw on that first board was how our numbers have gone down year after year after year, now into the 4th year. And at the mid-year point of 2025, the reduction in homicides was about 21% below where it was last year. And don't forget, last year was 30% lower than it was the year before and 27% lower than the year before that. All those are good things. But now that Miles has flipped the placard, the dark blue indicates what happened just in the month of July. So last year, for instance, a year that we are still on pace to do better than we did, or to do better this year than we did last year. We saw that in July, I believe, I can't quite see it from where I am, but I believe we only had 1 homicide in July last year. We know that in the first 3 days of July, we exceeded that number this year far and away. The point is that sometimes progress isn't linear. Sometimes there are movements along the path toward progress that are frustrating, but it doesn't mean that we're not moving the right direction. This may also not be the right comparison, and for all the years I've been mayor, I've struggled to sometimes come up with the right way to talk about this because of the human aspect of it. In some ways, I think the story is almost a story, it's similar to the conversation about climate and weather. Whether you think it is man-made or not, I think everyone agrees that the Earth is getting warmer. Some might say, well, that's because of the actions of humans. Oh no, it's just natural, whatever. I think everyone agrees that the Earth is getting warmer. That's climate. Occasionally, however, it snows. So even at a time when the Earth is getting warmer, sometimes we have days that are totally inconsistent with the perception that the world is getting warmer. One is climate, one is weather. Our climate, when it comes to public safety, is an overwhelming trend toward a more safer community. To use this sloppy analogy I've been using, that is our narrative story about our climate. However, much like sometimes in January it snows, sometimes we have months like July that are worse than any of us can bear. Progress isn't linear, but it doesn't mean that the trend is any different than it had been. When you look at the next chart, because we had focused here just on homicides in these first two charts. These are violent crimes in general. You can see, again, while everything is trending down, there are some bumps on the curve, and even though they arrive at a lower place than where they began, there are moments during the journey that require reflection and discussion about what is happening and what our response should be. So many times, and in fact, I suppose if we want to put the last one up there, we can, and that just makes the point in a different way. When these moments happen in our community, we hear a lot of, we reflect ourselves, but then we hear a lot from the community about things that we ought to be doing. Boy, if we only had more police, if we only had more things for youth to do, if we only were fighting blight more aggressively. Well, the fact of the matter is, and one of the reasons that we have this team here this quarter, is because we really are doing all of those things. We have increased the size of the police department. There are about 45 more officers on the street today than there were the day I became mayor. We have, for the last 4 years, invested $7 million in youth programming. This year, there are, as there have been every year for the last 3 years, 70 free programs for the youth of our community to take advantage of. Not just sports, but everything from you want to learn how to garden, you want to learn how to podcast. This year you want to learn how to scuba dive. We have a class for that. You want to learn how to ride a horse. Anything that is positive, that can be positive in the life of a young person, we have funded and we've done. We are fighting blight more aggressively. All of this, and I think the people up here, it's not just supposed to symbolize, but what it communicates accurately is that our approach has been a team approach. The reason we have seen so much success over the last 4 years is because we have approached this holistically. We have looked at it not just in one, it's not just about adding more police to the streets. That's part of it. It's not just providing more opportunities for youth. That's part of it. It's not just going after the built environment in neighborhoods that can lead to crime, though that's part of it. It's all of it together holistically. And if you can do all of these things and stay committed to your plan, you see the positive movement that we have seen over the last couple of years. We felt that given what happened the 4th of July weekend, that it was good to have this conversation and hear from some of the partners who are doing this work. I know when we have a typical one of these news conferences, and it's just me and Chief Trenley, it kind of creates a binary, all right, well, this is whatever's happening on public safety in Toledo, it's all about the chief and the mayor. They're the only two who are doing anything, and they get all the credit or all the blame. We deserve plenty of blame when things go wrong, but when things go right, as they have been generally over the last 4 years, there's a lot of people that deserve that credit because there's a lot of work that is doing to approach this holistically, and we have them with us today. Those folks who are engaging in the youth programming, who are making the early interactions with young people that are making a difference. The pastors who involve themselves with young people in different ways. They're all a part of what we're doing, and they're all here today to lend their voice to how our efforts in totality have shown success, and even on a nonlinear path, how we are moving the right direction, even as we still grieve for what happened at the early part of this month along that 4th of July weekend. So there's more that we want to say, but I want to move this along. So the next person who is scheduled to speak is our chief of police, who I'm hoping is somewhere behind me or nearby, so he can come over and talk more about the statistics that we've seen through the first half of 2025. There he is.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right, thank you everybody for being here. I know a lot of times when we do these, as the mayor kind of said, it's just him and I, and sometimes we delve deeply into the stats and a lot of the programs we're doing. With today's press conference, I think I'm going to be a little bit quicker, and I'll handle any questions at the end if you guys have them. As the mayor said, for the first half of the year, we had continued our trend of reductions in every category, including homicides. As you'll see, even now with the up-to-date stats as of yesterday, our shootings are still trending down. Our persons shot are still trending down, and there is a direct correlation, I believe, into the number of people shot and the number of homicides we have. Even though our stats are trending down and are getting better for the last several years, I think as a community, as a police department, as the administration, I think we can all agree what happened on the 4th of July weekend and week is unacceptable. This is not how our community normally behaves. This is not how we want to live in our community. As unacceptable as it is, and as hard as it was to deal with, I still say we are still on the right path. And as a police department, we have implemented a lot of different processes and programs to make sure that we are combating crime and reducing crime. And we're not going to let 1 week derail those efforts. That doesn't mean we don't respond to what happens during that 1 week. Immediately, we started doing things a little bit different, beefing up our patrols, getting some more crime suppression units out there, having our operations units work with our special operations, even calling on some of our partners, the Ohio State Highway Patrol. We asked them for some extra patrols in the city. They're a great partner. They gladly came in and started doing some more visible patrols for us. So as a police department, we do react to things that are happening, but we don't lose sight of the trend of the crime and the programs that we're doing that we know are working. And whether that's our team initiatives, our different gun crime center, the good work they're doing, and the different crime suppressions we're doing, the targeted monthly crime stats that we're doing. Those are all things that we do that have shown that we are positively impacting crime. So we are going to continue to do those. But being a data-driven police department, we do look at data in real time, and we do change and kind of ebb and flow with the data to make sure that we're continuing to stay on top of our crime. So as a police department, I want you guys to know, number one, we are continuing to do the programs that are working and are going to continue to fight the crime and try to make better use of our officers' time, better being out in the public more, being out in the community more, whether it's our foot patrols or making more stops. The community engagement that we continue to do, we are going to keep doing. The things that we are doing to fight crime and blight in our city, we're going to keep doing. However, we do take events like the 4th seriously, and we do make changes during that time. Just briefly before I turn it back over, I do want to talk a little bit about the 4th of July and the magnificent work that our officers were doing. We had several incidents in a very short period of time. And as a police department, and we staff for, you kind of play you kind of just basically, you're trying to staff enough for officer safety, enough for community safety, but by the same token, you're not overstaffing just because of what might happen. When you have 2 homicides in such close proximity, that really overtaxes our ability, our manpower, and our officers, our detectives, kind of came through it with flying colors. They did a great job, and I do want to recognize them. Unfortunate timing, I guess, or I happened to be on vacation the week of the 4th of July. So I was out of town. Assistant Chief Braun was filling in for me. He was acting chief that week. He did a fabulous job. So I do want to recognize the effort he did. We were in constant communication. He was filling me in real time when things were happening. We were discussing plans, but a lot of things I left to him to come up with some of those ideas, and I would say he performed flawlessly. So I know we'll get into a lot of the different things as we start taking more questions, but I just wanted to keep my statement brief. Thank you.
All right, next we're going to hear from Malcolm Cunningham, who's the director of what we call MONSE, the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement. This is the, this is the group that works at the grassroots level to try to, frankly, cut off crime before it begins. Of all the I'm not sure if you were planning to talk about this, but one of the things that I think is worth mentioning is that Malcolm and his team have trained more than 30 different community partners in something that's called Rewire CBT. Which is an evidence-based program that helps young people learn conflict resolution, emotional regulation, decision-making skills. 30 different neighborhood organizations who work with kids have gone through the training that Malcolm and his team have done. That's a part of why we've seen the success that we've had over the last couple of years. Let's hear from Malcolm.
All right, thank you all for having me today. Within my office, we know that safety is not just the absence of violence, right? It's about access to opportunity. It's about healing. It's about that connection. And we also know, and this is something that's being reiterated throughout, that there is no one fix, there is no one solution, there is no panacea. It's about what we're all going to be able to do together, right? So those are some of the grounding principles, the things that we truly value, that we consider within this work. And I'll also say that, this past month and even beyond that, especially for my frontline staff, it's been difficult, it's been challenging. They've been grieving, right? They've been grieving even as they've continued to engage with and comfort families on both sides of the gun. It's just the reality of the work that my team does on a daily. We know that we've sat with neighbors, we know that we've dealt with the anger of this cyclical violence, we know that we've dealt with the pain of it as well. Right. The work continues to happen regardless of whether it waxes or wanes, and our team just continues to step up. Our 11 frontline staff continue to mediate conflicts every single day, work with young people every single day, work with families every single day. They're also helping us think about and work through how to develop long-term meaningful change beyond that direct intervention in the moment, right? The direct service is critical, but so is this long-term planning, this long-term strategic thinking, this long-term work as well. So we have this sense of urgency, of course, and I wanted to just share a few updates about the work that has been happening within my office, within the community, as it relates to helping to create community safety, right? We know that the police obviously are critical to efforts to addressing violence. So is community, so are everybody that's at home as well, okay? So one of the first things that I wanted to speak to is the Peace in Motion plan. It's called that because we know that the work never stops even when you're planning, but also because, like has been shared before, there has been meaningful progress, and that plan was adopted by City Council this spring. And it's a collection of recommendations that weren't just made by me sitting in my bedroom or my office or something along those lines, right? It was built by community. It was built by those that are closest to the work, whether you're talking about mothers who have lost their children, community-based organizations that have been working with young people for years, whether you're talking about people that were involved in the violence at one point in their lives. They were all critical to helping develop this plan. And the plan, Peace in Motion, is a reflection of that. So there are several recommendations, many of which we are working on that I will speak to today as well, but I just wanted to make sure you all were aware of that plan as well, okay? One of the other things that we started doing in January is a weekly review of every single incident of community violence with other grassroots partners. So we're talking about a Hoodstock Foundation. We're talking about, of course, my Save Our Community team. We're talking about a Gutta Dave. I don't even know if I'm supposed to say his name that way. I'm sorry. We're talking about so many folks that are connected to and understand these networks that are impacted and or spreading violence, right? If we're taking a public health approach, if we're talking about treating violence like a thing that can spread, you have to, with great intention, identify where that spread happens and work to address it through mediation, through non-aggression agreements, through temporary relocation, through meaningful conversation with groups that may or may not be at risk of shooting or being shot. Our team does that every single week. Our team does that every single week, right? We believe that's also been playing a role. When you step back, we also think about the big picture. We think about the different sectors that we know are connected to or may have touch points with people with neighborhoods, with communities in order to develop plans. We have something called a Violence Reduction Council that we established in the fall of last year that we've been running once per quarter alongside a number of partners. That includes public safety, that includes mental health, that includes all sorts of systems, right? We review incidents, we review the data that is emblematic of those incidents, and we develop long-term strategy that is not just one organization, it's about across the entire system. It's about how to address these issues together long-term. So we're thinking about this review from a short-term perspective with the weekly reviews and the big picture cross-sector with the Violence Reduction Council. Another thing that we've also been working on that we were able to finally launch for applications in late spring of this year is the Healing and Compassion Fund. This is another recommendation that did not come from me sitting inside my office or whatever those things are. It actually came directly from a group of people that were survivors that have been directly impacted by violence. This fund provides access to resources to support in the aftermath of a violent incident, whether it's a home that's had their window shot out, whether it's someone that has been lost, whether it's someone that has been injured. This fund, alongside United Way, has been stood up in order to help address the issues that have been identified. Another thing that comes alongside it is a resource guide, right? Where do people need to navigate to in order to understand how to go about addressing reentry? Where do we go to figure out how to take care of medical bills that may have piled up? Where do we go to think through how to process grief, whether it's from loss or it's from pain of being exposed to a situation, right? We need to have access to these resources. This is a recommendation that, again, came out of the working group that has moved forward as a result of this work that we've done. Another thing that I'd like to speak to is that access to opportunity piece, right? We have been working with, this is a positive, exciting thing. We've been working closely with Dr. Tiffany Whitman within the city, Valerie Fatika within the city, and the Goodwill as well, along with a community partner, Mr. Snow, I forgot the name, Mr. Snow Removal and Landscaping, in order to start a program called Mobility Aid. What that does is we take young people from our caseload that are interested in developing some workforce readiness skills, that are interested in honestly being paid in order to learn those skills, right? And they're working with individuals that have either disabilities or are elder and have difficulty maintaining their lawns, and they're doing lawn care. They're learning intentional skills, they're becoming banked for the first time, they're receiving paychecks for the first time. Our group of young people is going to orientation this Friday in order to start expanding this program. So it's a very exciting thing as well. So the other thing that I've heard a bit about online and like some questions about is this grant that we received, right? We received a $2 million grant through the Department of Justice for community-based violence intervention and prevention, and I just want to give you all some updates about that all at the same time. I think I've probably had side conversations with a number of people, but perhaps not with everyone at the same time. So with that grant, we are launching a capacity building, kind of a training academy essentially, for people that are grassroots providers that are deeply committed to and that are close to this work in order to build up that skill set. Mayor referenced Rewire CBT. What does it look like if we have 200 people in this community trained in how to work with young people to identify that think, feel, do cycle, right? What does it look like if we have people that are trained by, the Ohio Supreme Court in mediation? Like if we have a community of people that are committed to and engaged in this work and are also using the best practices that we are aware of and the best practices that emerge from community, like addressing the issue on social media, which I know Chief and I talk about from time to time, is an issue and is a driver of many of the violent incidents that we see as well, right? What does it look like if we're actually training people in order to address that issue in that context as well? So part of this grant is about standing up that training academy. The other aspect of it is creating micro grants that go directly to those grassroots providers. The reality is a grassroots provider can make a lot happen with $500, with $5,000, whatever those things are. How do we get those resources into their hands, along with that training, that capacity building, along with that support? The best way to do that, well, one of the critical pieces is to do a landscape analysis, to look at the entire network, the entire ecosystem, the entire community, whatever you want to call it, of people that are committed to and engaged in this work. There are mom and pop shops, there are grassroots providers, there are big, large scale organizations, but so many folks are engaged in and committed to this work. How do we identify them, assess their capacity, and help to build their capacity longer term? So that's what that grant is about. The reality is we have to accept funding before we can do the planning. We have to apply for approval to spend the funding before we can plan one aspect, right? So it is coming together. It will take time. It is a 3-year grant. It is moving forward. I promise you of that. And there is work that is happening. And I'll return to this Rewire CBT thing just a little bit. There's a few folks actually that are in the audience that were trained in Rewire in our first cohort, I believe, was it December of 24, I believe? Yep. So this is all about equipping people with the skills to address that think, feel, do cycle, right? So especially when people have been impacted by trauma, many people go straight from feeling something to doing something. I think we've all seen it in our day-to-day. I think we've all seen it in the community. And sometimes the difference between thinking or making a decision and moving in a certain direction can be the difference between an argument and a fist fight, right? Or a fist fight and something much worse. If you are able to work with and support people that have been impacted by violence, people that have been impacted by trauma, to consider being present, to consider acting on your values, to consider labeling that actual feeling, then you are successful long-term. This is not a short-term thing, this is a long-term thing at reducing the likelihood that something will turn into a very, very poor outcome, okay? So again, we're interested and excited to continue to lean into that work as well. And I'll finish with this one thing. I feel like I've been talking for far too long, so my apologies. We know that community safety is something that is built with community, right? It's not something that we hand down to someone. We know that there are so many partners that are engaged in and doing this work, and we do want to thank all of you. There are probably too many to name, and I'll probably forget someone and they'll text me about it later, so I'm just not even gonna try. But I do wanna say thank you. I do also wanna say there is more work to be done that we can do together. I will reach out when it's time for us to start rolling out safe passage so that young people can feel safe when they walk to and from school. I do need people to respond when I say, we're gonna train you in mediation because you provide this service anyways, but you could do it that much better, right? We are gonna reach out when we're saying young people need to identify safe places in their community, and we can do that together and then bolster those safe places. I need your support. I know that you all have been supporting me. I will be asking. I need you all to show up for it. I know that you already show up for it. I need you to continue to do it, right? And I also, again, just want to say we build this together. There is no one solution, but I know that we are moving in the right direction. And I thank you, and I will stop rambling and step away. All right, thank you.
Good morning, Joe Fosnaw, Director of Parks and Youth Services for the City of Toledo. As you've heard a couple of times already today, in Toledo, we understand that building safe communities isn't the responsibility solely of our police department. It takes effort from every single city department. So today I just wanted to talk a little bit about what the Department of Parks and Youth Services is doing to create safe places for families to gather, to exercise, and to thrive. Over the past 7 years, under the leadership and support of Mayor Kapsakavich, we've invested more than $28 million into park improvements across our city. We're building safer, more welcoming outdoor spaces in every neighborhood. Earlier this year, we celebrated the grand opening of a new YMCA, the Wayman Palmer YMCA. It's a transformational project that brings together health, wellness, recreation, and community programming all under one roof, right in the heart of our city. The Wayman Palmer has become a benchmark for the YMCA. So as they're looking at building additional facilities, they're looking at our facility as the right way to move forward for the YMCA. And it's something that we should all be very proud of. By the end of this year, we'll be cutting the ribbon on the rebirth of Inez Nash Park, right adjacent to that YMCA. So really happy to see how this new park is going to interact with this gem that we have in our new YMCA. The portion of Parks and Youth Services that really focuses on our children also spends a lot of time building bridges and pathways, but not necessarily with bricks and mortar. Their bridges are built with relationships. And just really proud of the work that Commissioner Bush and Commissioner Covington have done to build those relationships and create opportunities for our children. About 6 months ago, we added Dr. Stephanie Covington to our team as our Commissioner of Educational Engagement and Workforce Development. Since then, she's spent countless hours out in the community, meeting with community leaders, meeting with support providers, and spending a lot of time just talking with our youth in the neighborhoods. And really what she's hearing is that youth don't feel like they have a voice in their future. So we are going to change that. And one of the initiatives that Dr. Covington is going to lead are quarterly town halls in conjunction with our Youth Advisory Board starting this fall. We'll bring together young people focused on a theme each quarter, and we want to hear how they would like to share their vision for a safer, more inclusive Toledo. A second initiative that Dr. Covington is going to lead centers around our community centers. So she's bringing together 13 community centers and other youth-focused organizations on a quarterly basis to talk about gaps in service, how the various community centers can start to work together rather than in silos, and how they can share resources to build a more connected network, particularly for individuals between 14 and 24 years old. So we know that youth engagement is one of the most powerful tools we have to prevent violence and build safer neighborhoods. That's why since 2021, the City of Toledo has invested $7.2 million directly into youth programming. We've funded 322 separate programs, most of which were free. To this point, we've had almost 200,000 participants in our programming opportunities, and that doesn't include the 70 programs that are currently underway this summer. We know that prevention starts with presence. So we're showing up for our youth, we're investing in their growth, and we're amplifying their voices. We're making it clear that safety is something that isn't the responsibility of the police department or our mayor. It's all of our responsibility. It's something that we have to come together to create. So at this point, I'd like to invite Audrey Johnson, one of our summer program partners, to speak more about how her programming is helping to inspire more kids to heal and grow.
Good afternoon. Shoot This Not That Toledo. Our mission for Shoot This Not That Toledo is to create a space for young people ages 14 through 24 years of age to actually use a camera as a creative tool to just hold some space for some of the experiences they've had in the area of gun violence. And we don't necessarily always have conversation about gun violence, but the mission is to create that space where we can have intimate conversation just to be able to be expressive. And through that process with Shoot This Not That Toledo, we've been able to partner with other community leaders, the police department with their drone division. We've had different entities come in and share experiences, different people about their experiences with gun violence and how they've worked through it and how they've overcome it. And so this summer we had 11 youth from different parts of the city actually bring to us, their experiences, and we were able to walk through the cities. They would pick some areas for us to be able to walk around and have conversation about what they've dealt with, and use of the camera just as a tool in general. They didn't have any specific subject matter, but just being able to talk and then shoot the camera kind of gives you, you know, that outward experience in a different way. And this is the second year that we've done this. And what I can say to this is it has worked. We have had some very deep conversations. We've watched some people heal through some processes of gun violence that they've experienced. One lady, young lady in particular, had a cousin that was murdered over on Detroit Avenue, and that was some years back. But through our experiences of traveling through the city, she told us, "This is where my cousin was murdered. Can we stop here?" And so with that, we stopped, and she was able to grieve. Her family never knew that she was never able to grieve her cousin's murder. And that was an open space for her. So, you know, we take pride in the trust that comes with Shoot This Not That Toledo, and being able to be expressive, and for the young people to have a voice so that they are heard and they are recognized, and they also know that they have a future, and they get to talk about what that future could be and what that could look like and where they're headed, and if there's anything that we can do as the adults that support them, we're there for that. And Shoot This Not That Toledo has taken up a space where we have now other entities asking us, can we do it with the group of kids that they work with? So we're hoping that this is a program that continues, that young people continue to know that there's a space where they can be heard. And I do want to say that I work for the Fair Housing Center, and with that process, I'm able to give them some data in a way that they can understand it about where they live, their environments, you know, wherever they live, just based on their zip codes, and understanding that there's no excuse for the behaviors that are taking place in our community, but they also need to understand that in certain areas that some of those things are inherited, and it's been going on a long time, and they have the opportunity to change that because now they know where it comes from. And let's change the narrative. Those are the kind of conversations that I have with them based on my knowledge as working with fair housing and understanding housing discrimination and redlining and all those things. So not only does my creativity as a photographer become important, but it also becomes that I'm able to share with them the things that help them understand. Knowledge is power. And for young people, we need to be empowering them any way that we can, because the more they know, the better off they are. And Shoot This Not That, with a camera in your hand, you know, being discriminatory and just being able to take photos and then put together a photo exhibition that the community gets to see and gets to celebrate you in what you've done. That's a huge thing for young people, is to not always focus on the negativity, but also to be able to put them in a space to celebrate them. So I invite the community that the more you hear about Shoot This Not That Toledo, if there's any way that you can engage what you do and who you are in supporting their efforts, we welcome that tremendously. And I thank the city, I thank Parks and Recreation, Commissioner Bush, for trusting me in this process of working with these young people. And I thank the young people for trusting me, because we have to remember that they are coming to us because they have a problem, an issue, and concern, and we need to be able to support them. So I thank everybody today for this opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, last but not least, we want to hear from Pastor William Foster from Indiana Avenue Baptist Church. When you talk about approaching a problem from a community perspective, the faith community is just an essential part of the fabric of what Toledo is all about, and so I think it's important to hear that voice as well. So our final speaker will be Pastor Foster.
Good morning. Thank you to the mayor's office for the invitation to be here this morning. Being new to the community, I do want to first state that the church's first obligation to our communities is to uphold our mandate, which is to make disciples, to make sure that we are carrying the gospel into the world, and in those that accept Jesus Christ, that we're walking with them into a mature relationship with Jesus Christ. Having said that, understanding that Jesus was one of liberation, he was one that was on the side of the oppressed, the church does have a role to play in our communities. As pastor of a church who's doing everything that I can to merge generations, one of the things that I've done my best to ensure is that our church is ministering to the needs of now. And so some of the examples, we have a food pantry every fourth Thursday of the month. We would love to expand that, however, we don't have the capacity to do so. We have hosted mental health fairs. We have hosted community baby showers. We do everything that we can to ensure that we are in partnership and ministering to the needs of the family house that is right across the street from our church. We have backpack giveaways at back to school time. And so we're doing everything that we can to ensure that we are ministering to the needs of now. Having said that, I'm of the belief that youth programming, after-school programming is wonderful, and it is greatly needed. However, I'm of the belief that strong families build strong communities. And so if we're not ministering, if we're not serving the family in its totality, therein lies a potential problem. And so I am trying to ensure that our church is doing everything that we can to ensure that every demographic of our church is seen, is heard, is ministered to. But having said that, the problems that exist in our community, my church sits in District 4, and so we hear of lots of violence that takes place in the area, but it has to be an all-encompassing partnership. The church can't fix all of the problems that exist. Government can't fix all the problems that exist, and the people can't fix. Everyone has to be in genuine, real, authentic partnership with one another in order to see real change. We're grateful for the resources that have been invested in the community, but we must understand that this work can never stop, and in order to get our community to where it needs to be, it's got to be a genuine partnership with all parties involved. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
This is just part of our public safety team in Toledo. That might seem counterintuitive because I think all of us maybe have been conditioned to think public safety, oh, that's the police, or that's city council, that's the mayor. It is the police, it is city council and the mayor, but it's also the faith community, those who engage with our youth, those who fight blight, those who improve neighborhoods. It's all of them together as a team. And ever since crime in Toledo started going down about 4 years ago, and you can see, just in every category we measure, not just shootings, people being shot, homicides, arsons, burglaries, robberies, everything has gone steadily down year after year for the last 4 years. And people have said, well, why? What has happened to cause that? And I always give my answer, but we felt that this kind of a conversation and introducing some of our partners in the way we did today was helpful to tell the story of what we're trying to accomplish. It's not a straight path, it's not a linear path. Even as Toledo continues to be much safer than it was 4 years ago, we're going to have weekends like 4th of July, unfortunately. It is the reality of living in a city of 270,000 people that it's just a reality. But because that event was so unusual and outside the norm for our city, we felt that we wanted to participate in a news conference, our quarterly news conference. We wanted that to be a little outside the norm also, to kind of talk more fully and holistically about how we approach these things and why we have seen really encouraging results, even as we continue to want to get better. And reflecting on what happened 4th of July weekend, that's part of what this is about. So you can set your watches. We'll be doing this again in mid-October or so, talking about the end of the third quarter. We do these every 3 months and have for the last 4 years. I don't know if we'll have the big crowd in the big room or if we'll be back across the street, but we do feel as though these quarterly updates are important to tell an accurate story of what public safety in Toledo is all about, and to meet and appreciate some of the people who are making Toledo a safer place today than it was this time last year, much safer than it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. We are moving the right direction, even while we all can reflect on the days that don't go the way we want them to. We can still celebrate the general overall progress. So with that, I know this was a little longer than usual. Our invite list was a little longer than usual, but again, you heard Joe say it. Hundreds of free youth programs, $7 million we spent on youth. Over 200,000 kids have taken advantage of them. Not, to be fair, that's not 200,000 separate kids. Some of those kids are, it might be it's not one kid 200,000 times, but kids who participate in our programs multiple times are counting that. But 200,000 is 200,000. That's a big impact. We've demolished over 300 unsafe vacant buildings, collected 1.2 million pounds of waste from our neighborhood streets. We've constructed 230 new affordable units of housing, made 27 homes lead safe. Again, and we're doing this well involves a lot of different things, and this is just an opportunity to introduce you to the team that's doing it. So thank you for your patience and for being here and for helping us tell the full story. And we appreciate it. I don't know if you have any general questions or if we should do one-on-ones. Do one-on-ones would be better? Yep. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks.